All right, ladies and ghouls. That was stupid.
That was terrible.
Yep, that was dumb. I regret that
Boils
immediately.
and ghouls.
But yeah, that's what I was going for. But ladies and ghouls is what came out.
Yep.
Speaking of ghouls, we recently rewatched Stephen King's It, the 1990 miniseries directed by Tom Lee Wallace of Halloween 3 fame, and you came to find out Vampires 2 Los Muertos
I didn't
fame.
know this existed.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's not good. But, yeah, man, it had been, for me, it had been over a decade since I'd seen it.
Yeah,
In fact, the last time I saw it was when I showed it to you.
I hadn't seen it since I was a fetus.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I'd seen this. And previous to that time, I had only seen it twice. Once on VHS somewhere in the late 90s. And, of course, when it came out on TV the first time. So I've only really seen this movie 3 times. And 3 pivotal times, though, you know. Once when it came out when I was impressionable youth, you know, not even 10 yet. And later when I had already read the book and, you know, I was already a teenager. And then, of course, with you, seeing somebody else that hadn't seen it, see it with me.
We saw it with Squid Mom.
Yeah. So now we saw it again to prepare ourselves, if you will, in a manner of speaking, for the new adaptation of the book coming out in September. So we're just going to talk about it, our impressions. Did it age well? Is it still cool? Did we ever think it was cool? What's up, you know? So, okay, let's get to the nitty-gritty. The first time you saw this, not this time, but the first go-around, what do you remember your impressions being of the movie?
Well, I was super young, so I don't remember. I didn't remember much of it. I mostly remember the first half, or so I thought. But rewatching it, I was like, "Oh, this actually is in the second half."
Yeah.
But I do remember liking it. I do remember. Now everybody was scared of Pennywise. I don't really remember being scared of him. I do remember one scene that used to spook me, and it was a lot less spooky this time around.
Which scene was it?
The part in the beginning where he is behind the clothes.
Oh, yeah.
That I remember that scared me when I was a kid. Not very spooky this time around.
Nope. It's actually not great at all.
It's not. And I liked it. I don't know what you're going to feel about it in your rewatch.
Okay, the first time I watched it, I was a kiddo. You know, I was under 10 years old. I hadn't read the book. You know, I had the book. I just hadn't read it.
I should mention that this is a longin'. It's a long movie.
Oh yeah.
And it did actually hold my attention back then, because despite thinking that I only remembered the first half, I did remember a lot of the second half.
Yeah.
So that's good, right?
I think that mostly had to do with that you remembered the kid portions of the thing, which are really scattered throughout both of the movies. You know,
they are actually.
But yeah, the bulk of their battle is in the first one. But anyway, yeah, when I was a kid, I watched it when it came out on. I think it came out on ABC of all things, which we've recently discussed being the home for the Inhumans, which didn't look great. But anyway, came out on ABC. I was aware, of course, of Stephen King. I was already a huge reader of his. I just hadn't read this particular book. So I have the benefit of having watched the movie first and having that insight before, you know. Now, I wonder, had I read the book first, would I have hated the movie? I don't know, because it's different. As a reader, it's different. Usually you give a lot of slack to a movie if you've seen the movie first, then read the book. So I don't know, but I did see the movie first. And I liked it a lot. I remember I liked it a lot. Everybody was talking about it the next day at school, even though I guess kids weren't really supposed to see it, whatever. But I loved it, man. But I was always into horror, and you know, being young, you don't really see things like directing style and editing choices and music and stuff. You don't really pay attention to that stuff. But I liked it. Dare I say I loved it. So it has a fond, nostalgic cushion in my mind. Cut 2 years later when I see it as a teenager. Still liked it. I felt maybe it was... I had already read the book. I felt maybe it was a little...
Bare bones.
Yeah, really stripped down version. I was really loath about the fact that they focused too much on the clown entity or appearance of the entity of it, rather than expound on it like the book did. And I remember the thing I hated the most was the kind of like schlocky directing. You know, it was like, man, this is woo. this is not great direction, you know. But I also considered this was a TV movie. They had those limitations plus budget limitations, and it does have kind of a schlocky charm to its directing style.
It does look like a TV movie.
Yes, but not like an Inhuman style TV movie.
Not bad.
It just looks like a TV movie.
It just doesn't look like a movie.
Yeah. Later, when I showed it to you, I was still fond of it, again, in a nostalgic way, but I was kind of like, you know, by then I'd read the book countless times, and I was like, man, this is really lacking big time. And then I had become aware that there had been previous versions that didn't go through. Like George Romero was supposed to direct it originally, and it was supposed to be like a 12-part series, which would have pretty much encompassed the book, you know, almost word by word. But yeah, so I was kind of like bitter about that, but I still loved it. Tim Curry as Pennywise is iconic, but let's talk about that now. Now that we've watched it again, would you say he is as iconic as you remember him being and as everybody touts him being?
I think so, because he is a little jokey at times, like, but it kind of makes sense in the placing because it's when he's trying to ward them off, and where he's a little more like taunting them and stuff. But he really does have a creepy feel to his performance. I don't think he's like the end all be all freaking Pennywise. Like, there's a lot to expand there. It's not his fault. I mean, he's only in it for a little bit. He's used very sparingly.
Yes.
But I thought he was good.
Yeah, I think his performance holds up.
It does.
It's iconic in the sense that, one, it's Tim Curry.
Yeah.
So he's a character actor, and you see this character, and he's bringing to life something that's beloved.
I think he really toes the line between almost being too jokey, but then he always makes it disturbing.
Yeah, it's definitely not Freddy.
No.
You know, he keeps his menace, and
it's like even when he's like doing a joke, he'll instantly turn it creepy, and he always has that creepy look in his eyes.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just, it works.
Like, I remember when the movie was announced, the new one was announced, a lot of people were bitching about, oh, he's not supposed to be an alluring clown. I mean, he's not supposed to be a menacing, scary clown. He's an alluring clown. Really, they're just remembering, one, I don't think they ever read the book. Second, they're remembering this. Because there is kind of like an allure to him.
There is.
A playful allure. But it's always laced with menace.
Yeah, like, even when he does lure people in or, like, is jokey, he'll instantly turn it and scare them.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the whole point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he even says that the fear makes him taste better.
Yeah,
you know?
So it's kind of like, it seems like he's kind of like, I don't think he's ever, like, trying to make anybody feel comfortable.
No. The closest we come to that is Georgie.
Yeah.
And even then, I mean...
It's a freaking clown in the sewer.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But, it really, in the book, he's not like that at all. He's not jocular. He's not haha.
It's more like taunting than being funny or...
Yes.
Or, like, you know, trying to lure people in. He's taunting them because he knows he's going to have them, really.
Yeah. So... In a sense, Tim Curry's performance remains iconic because, one, he put his own taint on it, and it is a different portrayal of what the it entity is. It's not what the book.
Given what they did, given what they had to work with in the, you know, I know I haven't read the book, but from what it sounds like, it's very stripped of what it has.
Yeah. So,
given what's in there, I think it's really good.
Yeah. So, yeah, his performance holds up. In comparison to the book, no. So all you people going, oh, look, I don't know how the new movie's going to be, but just based on what I see, it's a lot more closer in spirit to what the book is. You know, the clown is not nice. Not that he ever was with Tim Curry's performance, but whatever. But anyway, all the other... Here's, I think, where this movie really holds up well. And it's the Losers Club, both in their adult version and their child version. Now, you remember the as most people do, I found out, most people remember the childhood stuff much more than the adult stuff. This go round that you saw it, did you feel the same way? I prefer this over that. Actually, did you feel they both did good? Did you feel one sucked? What's up?
No, I actually thought this time around, that if anything, there's nothing to take away from the first half. If anything, the adult bit shined more to me this time around, because there's a lot of weird shit that happens in it. and you really do feel their bond. That you feel like they grew up together.
Yeah,
in that later.
It's kind of like a payoff. It's a big payoff.
Yeah.
To seeing them in their childhood.
And the thing that I noticed is that, I mean, it makes sense why, because they are being shown through flashbacks in a way, but like we said, like we were talking about it does feel kind of segmented, that first half, where it just kind of goes from moment to moment, and it's nothing against it. It just kind of does. The second half feels more like,
there's more of a narrative flow to the second half.
It just flows better, and it doesn't feel kind of like moment to moment. That being said, it's still good. It's still really good. I guess this time I could appreciate the adult half more.
Yes, I was the same way. This go round, I actually preferred myself. I preferred the adult, the more adult centric second half of the movie over the.
I mean, they're in the first
it's throughout, but it's the flashback stuff is heavier in the first half than the second half, and vice versa. But I appreciated it a lot more, not just as a viewing experience, but in terms of how this screenplay writer adapted the material, because he had to condense, almost 2,000 pages of work into this stripped down, bare bones script, and he managed to combine scenes and get the ideas he needed to get across in innovative ways that were really actually pretty astonishing. Hats off to this guy. He did a wonderful job condensing the themes down and getting across the point as much as he possibly could. And I was really impressed by that myself. And it showed most through that second half with the adults being the center of the attention. And oddly enough, though the themes of the book shown most brightly through in the second half, that's the one that they took more liberties on adapting. It's a lot looser, the adaptation there, than anything. So I think that just really shows that this book can be, and then I think this is very important for the upcoming movie. This is a book where you can take liberties and change and adapt. Like, one of the big changes is they're moving from the 50s to the 80s and from the 80s to the present. The kids are going to now be in the 80s instead of the 50s, the adults in the present instead of the 80s. So that in itself is a huge leap, and then we can take more creative leaps with the Pennywise It entity, and I'm really excited to see what they explore there, because honestly the stuff in the book is not going to be scary if they just straight adapt that. So this movie took kind of the same approach. They didn't go direct with everything in terms of the scares, and it worked to its benefit, I think. So let's talk about that. The scares, if you will. Mind you, I mean, I don't think this movie's scary.
It's not scary.
I don't think it's even mildly creepy. I think it's just a good, fun miniseries. Would you agree with that, or would you not?
It has moments where you're like, that would be creepy if it was
done a different way. Yeah,
and it's nothing against the movie. It's obviously like a product of its time.
Yes, very much so.
Like, considering this was a TV movie on ABC in the 1990, I believe, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I was still kind of astounded, and I somehow had forgotten this again, seen it over half a year, that they actually did use the N-word in the adaptation, which I told you I hope they do. That sounds awful. I hope they use the N-word, but I hope they use it in the new book, because it's pivotal to Mike's character, who is an African American. So we'll see, because we're living in the PC culture. But
we're already getting shit for saying N-word.
Yeah, getting butt raped. But
all right, that one.
Yeah, but anyway, overall, I think the movie held up pretty well. It's dated in its styling and its direction and its directional choices, and it's limited to the restraints of budget and where it was presented.
I don't think there's anything really spooky in it, or really like scare worthy.
I'd say as far as the scares go, for me, it never scared me. And second, it's what still doesn't fucking scare me at all.
I think if maybe it was filmed a little differently, or just didn't feel like a TV movie. Tim Curry could have done a lot more with it.
Yeah.
Because he is creepy. Like, he does have a creepy presence. He's just in it so little. Not that, but it's just... There's just something off that doesn't let you fully immerse.
Yeah,
into
yeah.
the spookiness,
He does.
I guess.
I mean, he's kind of the same way in the book. He's not there all the time, obviously.
Yeah.
But the way he is used has such an impact that it resonates throughout. And here you kind of don't get that.
No,
you know,
he's just kind of there.
Yeah, he just pops up every now and then. Again, because they're trying to get so many themes through, you know, so quick. So you understand instinctually as an intelligent viewer what's going on, but as just a casual viewer, as just wanting to enjoy this horror movie as a horror movie, it doesn't function in that way very well.
A good example of what I think is a creepy scene in theory, but kind of isn't because of some reason, is the scene where, crap, I forgot his name, Ben, I believe, sees his dad in the area. Like, really, if you think about it, it's pretty creepy. But there's something off, and it's not really creepy. It's interesting, and you're like, oh, this could be really cool if something was different.
Yeah, it's just not portrayed well enough.
Yeah, I guess.
Part of that has to do with the effects not being up to par, but really, I mean, we've seen hundreds of movies where the effects aren't up to par, and they still function on that level of the scare factor still there. But yeah, coincidentally, that's a scene that they changed for the movie, and I actually think it's better in the miniseries than in the book. But I
do want to say that one thing they did find a little creepy. Again, it's not like it scared me or anything or spooked me even. I did like that whenever Pennywise is taking over someone. I mean, it's all you know, but like I like how they like make his voice kind of fluctuate.
Oh yeah.
That's a little spooky, I think.
That's a creative choice that I actually really enjoyed too, because
and then they just kind of get weirder and weirder until it's just like he can't contain himself almost.
Yeah.
Or like he wants them to know. It's cool. I like that choice.
They had to communicate a way to show that Pennywise was influencing Derry, and creatively speaking, I mean, that's a good, quick, and effective way to do it right there without, going into all that subplot material. But yeah, you're right. That was quite good. Let's talk about some things you didn't quite like. I got one right off the bat. Let's face it, still to this day, the spider form of it at the end is terrible. It's not good. It's not a good effect.
It's not great. I mean, like I said, I think the design is okay. It's just something about it, like the puppet's not good, and then when it's in stop motion mode, it's
terrible. It's like watching an old Harryhausen.
I love me some stop motion, but
it's not.
It just kind of breaks what it's supposed to be doing, and it's just not very spooky.
Yeah, it's not Harryhausen level stuff, but it looks like it, but doesn't achieve what Harryhausen did.
I mean, this is that point in the movie is clearly when, I mean, they were working with some limits. Obviously,
the biggest detractor for me is not so much the effect, which is not a good effect, but the fact that it doesn't communicate the cosmic themes of the book at all. And by that point, really, you couldn't do that at that point, and so it fails at concluding that particular arc for the story. And everybody's always been down on this. I think it's almost unanimous that people agree that ending is not good. And that's people that haven't even read the book can tell you that. People have read the book, it's just like this ending is a failure because it doesn't communicate all that it should communicate. So it's really ineffective. There are some great moments in it, like Belch getting sucked into the dead lights.
That was really cool.
There's some really great standout moments. To me, that was the creepiest moment for me because it really demonstrated a piece of what the deadlights could do to you, and how they just leave people stripped of anything.
But to be fair, just to not really correct you, but add to it, that is in the first half.
Yeah, but I didn't think it was as effective in the first half as it was there in that one particular moment, if you know what I mean. But that's just me. I mean, to me, that was the most effective scene that communicated something to me as a reader. But anyway, the long story short, do you have anything that you hated, absolutely hated in this?
Not really, honestly. Even the spider. I mean, it's not. It sucks, but I kind of. I mean, I understand why it was so sucky. Yeah. So I can't say I hated it. That must have been pretty freaking daunting to be like, oh shit, now we got to film this spider scene.
I think really was daunting for not just for the creative team, but for the actors trying to make it look convincing. Yeah. Some of their faces are like, ooh, yeah, it's not good.
And actually, you know what? I actually do kind of like the design. It's kind of spooky. It looks neat. It's just, why is it this big?
Yeah, there was no menace being displayed by that.
And again, the puppet spider wasn't great. Yeah. It had potential. Like, if that design was done better, it could have been cool. But not really. I don't think I hated anything. Oh yeah. Well, that's not really a hate, but at times the music was a little corny.
Yeah, the soundtrack, it does have kind of an iconic there is theme at the beginning.
Good moments in it.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't like the soundtrack at all.
I think there is a few good like eerie moments, but I did not dig the carnival like fun sound that it was trying to be creepy. It was just kind of lame.
Yeah. The soundtrack is nothing to write home about.
No.
Oddly enough, and I know they couldn't do this because of rights, it works best when they just use songs that are relevant to the time it's showing.
And weirdly, they save it to the second half.
Oh, that's in the first half too. When they're kids, and then they use one song there, and then one in the second half when they're recongregated together at the restaurant. So they used it sparingly because probably they didn't have money for that. And that's probably when it works best. Is the theme good? Yeah. But it's at the beginning and then whatever. You know, I never thought it was the greatest theme ever. It's just that one little part, everybody remembers, and that's it.
I just really don't like that carnival-y sound that they try to play off.
Yeah, that was not good. So, yeah, that was score stinker, I think.
Yeah. Something about the look of it, again, is a bit off.
But, okay, well, we kind of rambled on about that bullshit for 10,000 hours. But I think the best thing people remember the most are the relationships between the characters. And that still, I think, to me, remains the strongest element of this film. I think it's why it's still considered a classic and why people hold it dear to their hearts. It's because those kids and those adults are so identifiable. You know, you can actually put yourself in their place, or you can yearn to be them. You know, whatever your station in life is, I think that's still really what makes it shine.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, if you've seen it before or recently, let us know what you think, and let us know what you think about the upcoming movie. Are you excited for it? Do you hate it already? What's up? We're excited. We're gonna see it, and we'll review when it comes out.
What was up with that comedy scene that Richie was? Ooh.
Oh yeah, let's just forget about that.
That was good.